Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Choopo reaction. So, this is the bizarre lore of Clash of Clans, and, oh god, that's one of those things, like, I was never that into Clash of Clans. For me, I was a lot more into Boom Beach, which, when are we going to get a bizarre lore of Boom Beach video, Choopo? I'm waiting for it. But either way, like, the original Clash of Clans, like, I had assumed that was like over just completely, because I think like the company is making like other games like under the same IP. But I mean, oh god, again, when it comes to all of these like mobile game based and mobile game adjacent like series and franchises and stuff like that, they always have some of the most nuts lore I have ever heard in a game or show, because, you know, a lot of the times they have, like, some sort of show as well. I mean, I think the last Choopo video I did a reaction to, I'm forgetting what it was, but I specifically was, like, I had a moment there where I was just yelling, like, why does everything need a multiverse? Because at this point, whether it's, like, official things, like, from Marvel, or from all of these, like, little shows and franchises and stuff like that, like, why does every single one need a multiverse? And oh god, honestly, I'm gonna say it here before I watch the video. If Clash of Clans has anything multiverse related, I honestly think I'm going to scream. I honestly think I am, because at this point, like, I've seen so many different like iterations of this mobile game with a multiverse shtick, and honestly, it's driving me nuts. I'd like at least a couple to not have it. Thank you very much. Plants vs. Zombies, that's the last Choopo video I did a reaction to. Right. Oh god, okay, well, I mean, might as well get this one started. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day, and if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel, because my main goal for this year is to hopefully hit 5,000 subscribers, and at the current rate I'm going, that's totally doable thanks to every one of you that thinks my channel is worth subscribing to. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Clash of Clans has dominated the real-time strategy genre for over a decade, and in that time, there's been a mountain of content, spin-offs, and world-building worth looking into.
I'm sorry, was there a Clash of Clans anime? When was this a thing?
So I'm gonna do just that and figure out the real story of this franchise. Hi everybody, I'm here in our interview room thingy, whatever these are called. Today we have a special high-in-demand collaboration with another beloved face I'm sure you all know and love. Please give it up for today's special guest, Choopo. Hi everybody, thank you Choopo for having me. Very excited to be here and help out where I can. Thanks again for having me, by the way. Stop, do not look at me like that. Never face that way again, that looks so disgusting. Stop.
All he did was flip his head around. He looked almost exactly the same.
Stop doing that, genuinely that makes me sick. We're not doing that here. Okay, Clash time, here we go. The Clash universe takes place in an unnamed fantasy world dominated by small villages, factions, and kingdoms. This immediately creates a big problem. By everyone being identical, locations being virtually the same, the characters being the same, we automatically start fighting an uphill battle. So the first concern's actually gotta be identifying which and what characters belong in the locations. Even then, a lot of this stuff is hard to give concrete information on because of how the story treats characters as infinite copies and...
Oh god, right, yeah, I completely forgot. I think I'd watched a couple of episodes of this cartoon. I actually know this one. And like, again, like the fact that like they're all like clones or something, it's so funny.
Single people at the same time. Like the red and blue Royale Kings are brothers in canon, but there's implied to be millions of the same kings, so it really does not matter. Let me start off by saying in canon, Clash is a digital world. It is one that can be traveled in and out of by breaking through dimensions on accident or deliberately creating portals to new locations.
Okay. Okay, he said the word dimensions. He did not say multiverse. and it is a digital dimension, so that doesn't automatically mean multiverse. It can just be, a pair, real world and digital world. Okay, calm down.
Because of that, our only sense of time comes from our release dates and given information, starting with the documentary Clash from the Past, starting in 1982. In Finland, we see a trio of friends making a game with each other. We got Helen, who's like the marketing and director, Simo, the key artist of everything and creating something for his love of what could be shared, and Ku, who's happy to be included. Instantly, they drop an arcade classic known as Clash, following a little barbarian as he goes on his own quest. This explodes to levels that even exceed like Pac-Man explosion of this time. Clash has become a household name within an obscenely short amount of time, and you can tell. Now,
okay, so in universe, Clash is the equivalent of Pac-Man. Okay.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is the creation of the Clash world by that logic, exposing us to the first few troops now. With very, very few exceptions, the majority of Clash characters and troops and soldiers are unidentifiable copy-paste creatures, with almost all of them existing to be a statistic and casualty in whatever battles they are sent off to. The life expectancy for most troops is around a couple days. We got goblins, traditional mischievous grunts that strive for hoarding unless domesticated, wizards, more intellectual and suave compared to the rest of the cast, and of course, the barbarian, the main face of the Clash Empire. They are dumb, they are durable, they will meet demises, and they want to battle. According to the barbarian career path, they all strive to reach the status of kings, but first they gotta survive all their previous positions, such as being stuffed into barrels, used as battering rams, running forward and dying but better, then you get to be king.
Running forward and dying, or running forward and dying but better, okay. Talk about upward mobility.
Yeah, no, this game is massive. Like, 15 Tickle Me Elmo crazes slammed into one. With months, these Finnish teams now got a company, cereals, toys, commercials, official collabs with the Garbage Pail Kids, instant millionaires.
Collaborations with the Garbage Pail Kids. Oh, okay, that's a collab I didn't think I'd see coming. Okay.
By 1993, the power has reached and corrupted Helena. Simo wishes to go back to all being friends, and Ku is once again happy to be included. New game, Clash Dash. The barbarians are cars now. They have piggyback ride races, and once again, massive, huge hit. It's bigger than your mother.
Oh, come on. You have a Clash kart game, but you don't give the hog rider his hog? Come on. What logic is that?
And is popular around the neighborhood as her. Along with that birth of so many new characters, so many of the beloved cast. You got Valkyries, who don't do that much, to be honest. This is the last time they get mentioned, actually. Then you got archers that are used pretty often, also have their queens and subclasses of troops, and few of them do need stuff. And then, back to back, Hog Rider and Builder. Holy shit. These are the best characters. It's literally these two at the top, Gap, another Gap, a slightly smaller Gap than the last Gap, Log, and Villagers. I like the Villagers. They're pretty funny. I like it when they clap at trees. Clash is
Clap at trees? I'm sorry, what? Again, it's as I said before, I played like probably Clash of Clans for like maybe about a month, and then afterwards I kind of dropped it and haven't touched it since. So I again, like, a lot of this is going over my head, sorry.
Undefeatable. With only 2 games, it has somehow managed to become one of the greatest things to ever thing, but somebody's gonna buckle. These 3 pals have all started to drift more and more, and Seymour, entirely dedicated to this brand and art form and empire, so dedicated he hasn't like tried starting a family or anything. He's become a bit of sour potato. He's out of the company. He leaves. Meanwhile, Helena, I kind of forgot the documentary. I watched it like a couple of weeks ago. She spends a majority of the decade managing to keep everything afloat, even without making any games. And Ku's still happy to be here. In 2002...
So, okay, so they spend the next decade not having anything, but they're able to just keep the brand alive just through recognition alone. Actually, maybe this is closer to Pac-Man now that I think about it, because apart from the originals, I know there were a couple of weirder Pac-Man-like and Pac-Man games that are based on Pac-Man, but not actually. So, yeah, okay, interesting. Okay, interesting.
We got the Dark Ages. Clash has entered its 20-year anniversary. That's a big deal. We need a new game or something. Helena then makes an official cologne. Complete banger. Now they got a profit off of this. So then they decide to make a Clash movie using those models as lead actors for the film. Doesn't go all too great. The movie is not critically liked all too well. That's fine. It establishes that in some corner of the world, Clash is more gritty and dark. Total.
Interesting. Clash movie. Okay. So now I'm wondering, is this sort of like the equivalent of like, wait, no, this was made in the 2000s. So I was going to say, is like, oh, is it like some of those like weird movies and stuff you'd see in like the 80s and 90s? But no, I mean, probably, maybe you could, but it's just like really far, like it's like a trend chasing, but it's like really far behind.
Cash grab, but I'm assuming it does okay in the box office like the original Mario Bros. Movie does in terms of a performance. So then we're left with Helena stalling the company. You can kind of tell at this point that she's not at all qualified for the position she's been given. They've had a success, but they don't have the knowledge needed to continue forward as a leader or person in the business. So the next game's released in the...
Looking at any video game company that has a CEO that doesn't play, video games. Shock.
The mid-2000s, assumed to be in development hell, complete shift in tone and intention, everybody hates it. Introducing Clash, Cradle of Darkness. It becomes an equivalent to a Sonic 06 type of game. An early internet YouTube reviewer is gonna have their evil character insist they review Cradle of Darkness for like a 50th episode special or something.
Oh, now you've made me sad. Oh. God, I miss angry reviewers when they were a bigger thing. Oh. I mean, good. I mean, I'm happy that like the likes of Nostalgia Critic and Linkara, AVGN occasionally still put out stuff, but I miss when they were, when there were like a lot more angry reviewers.
AVGN is foaming at the mouth over this one, and Seymour, he is pissed. He's basically wasted like 15 years angrily watching his former friend drag his work into the ground, and I gotta be honest, both of these people kind of suck. It should have just communicated
very
on
much
both ends,
so.
because one of you have no control and are unfamiliar with your new role. The other is overly protective of their work, but never did anything to warrant it, dragging their successful franchise into the ground for no reason, just like real developers. So this new game made...
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe this story isn't as, out there as I'm thinking it is.
Seymour, oh so grouchy. He doesn't like the property he left being mishandled. His solution? Arson. Clash headquarters burns down. Both careers have been disintegrated. Clash has now entered the Dark Ages, and this is devastating for the Clash land. So much, the majority of the land and culture started to transform on its own. The near decade of no proper leadership or objectives in their environment leads to massive stagnation across the land and characters. Any sense of culture, tameness, structure, all falling apart and snowballing into the environment we're gonna see in future entries of the story. But then, 2012.
Okay, so is that why? Okay, so so actually in the story of this game, in the lore, the video game company that made them in universe was like dead and stagnant for like over a decade. Man, okay, now that I'm wondering, is this like, okay, interesting, really interesting. Okay. I'm actually getting into this, just how, because this story's going in weird places, but it's going in new weird places as opposed to like the previous stories.
Clash is mysteriously coming back to life as an isometric town-building game, one that represents stability, consistency, acting as a new pillar of hope for this world, but still would allow players to lead their armies to invade and raid other villages, keeping some portion of the classic games. We have entered the Renaissance, and it wasn't led by Stingy McStingepants or Arsonist Albert. No, it was Koo. Koo, always happy to be included, made this game with his own team and heart and saved it all, rolling into relevancy with his all-new company with the rights of the brand known and possibly beloved as Supercle. Alright, cool, origin story figured out. Now we know how long Clash has been around, that the two problematic individuals connected to this creation are out of the story, and that's a good thing. But now we have a new issue, in specific, where to go now. I'm under the impression that from this point onward is near or entirely identical to ours, the only outlier being Clash's success from the 30 years before the establishment of the mobile game. From here on, we need to see how Supercell works, and the general vibe I'm getting is that they have full control of this digitized world and place of all of their games. And
yeah, actually thinking about it, yeah, how does that actually work? Because, you know, they're a video game company that has seemingly unintentionally actually made an alternate universe. So, like, oh god, the power of the retcon would be unstoppable.
Animations, everything in this place is connected into one world. And this is a major problem because then all of their other franchises are canon under one continuity. We see in a couple animations that they interact that there has to be a shared world. The three most important games to confirm this is canon to some capacity are Boom Beach, mostly taking place on islands, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Then there's Heyday, which has farms and consistent rivers connected to them, so...
Heyday? I've never heard of that before. Give me a second to look that up. Never heard of this before. Okay, interesting. If you want to call it that.
All good. And then there's Brawl Stars.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Brawl Stars. Brawl Stars is a gateway drug that leads to League of Legends and Dota 2. Oh my, oh no.
Man, the only thing I remember Brawl Stars being talked about on Game Theory, and I still don't know what the story of it is, because it's something involving like making soldiers and fighting an interdimensional war or something. Ugh, God.
Whoa, there's a lot. Obviously, we can't cover all that today. Well, I mean, what if we divided and conquered? Like, maybe I could do it, or like maybe Don't interrupt me! Brawl Stars not quite...
Right, I've completely forgot. Choopo, you're just here to fill space on the screen. You don't actually contribute to anything.
Quite my thing either way, considering the audience for this game and quite literally the most annoying sound design I have ever seen in a game. I'm being dead serious. The sound effects of this game is enough for me to never want to play it again. Even if the gameplay itself is fine, even if that paycheck from the video calls to me like the Green Goblin mask, I don't know if I have the willpower to decline it. This is more of a Western desertish themed thing. Closest environments might be like the Bone Pit in Clash Royale's desert. There's also an entire game dedicated to them all crossing over, that being Squad Busters, and this a mysterious wizard portals in heroes and villains from each game and corner of the world as they gotta fight the combined evils also being sent via portals. It's hard to say if this is a pocket dimension or multiverse, I hope not, but hey.
Oh god. I hope not too. No. No, I hope not. Transformers? Oh god.
Optimus Prime's here, so yeah, that's cool. I guess I would consider it a pocket dimension alternate realm or keyway of the multiversal travel that probably is here and how it goes down, being the way that characters warp in on any crossovers that may or may not exist. I mean, like, we already know about the ones that reach our world. I mean, they stole ever iconic soccer football attacker Holland from his home, and this can just happen to anyone. It happens to their employees. Like, how do you even tell human resources about that? I mean, there's no other choices really. The most recent update actually had a few characters warp home as a lore reason as to why they're getting removed from the game, which I think is very funny to justify removing characters you have to pour real time and money into. Wondering if this game shuts down in a year. It's 50-50 at this point.
Oh god, honestly, I really hope it does. Honestly, I mean, like, on the one hand, I hope it does, because the lore, from what I've heard, is so complicated, but at the same time, like, people actually made these games, and I don't want them to lose their jobs over them or anything.
Okay, what's next? Oh yeah, 2016, our first exposure to Clash Royale. These are the Royal Kings, head of royalty of two separate empires near identical in all regards. Now multiply that by 1 million, maybe a few 100 million, and you get the picture. People that count in the Royale family but are not limited to, nor it has to have this specified amount, because again, 100 million of these same kingdoms include princesses, princes, maybe dark princes, the cannoneer, duchesses, little princes, and the deceased father or even older than father royal ghosts.
Honestly, I love the, again, like, maybe I gotta go back and watch the actual, like, Clash cartoon, because the fact that they're like, oh, the fact that, like the fact that you have all these, like, identical characters actually being just canon to the universe is really funny.
Some staff found on the payrolls of these kingdoms include guards, knights, executioners, royal recruits, royal chefs, and musketeers. But it doesn't end there, because the royal king has been shown to travel across the lands and especially villages to recruit anyone who wants to work for them. However, we also have to bring up that there is inconsistent quality within these troops and playable cards in games that we see in Clash-O-Rama, meaning that the players are given the most ideal iterations of these characters by default as they participate in some sort of war or feuds. It's not really expressed why they do fights, but maybe it's easier to resolve their issues with these kinds of small battles that go on millions of times every day in arenas that are relatively close to the kings being reachable within a day, but also close enough to water, where as we see when the fisherman tries to warn them of flood before it hits everybody. As for...
Honestly, I mean, now that I think about it, Clash Royale is essentially like a very overcomplicated version of a joust, or like a duel. Because from what I remember, like, going back to like medieval times and stuff like that, like warfare, like full on, army versus army wasn't the first option. You'd often, like, if you had something like that, you'd have, the king take his best, you take like each, like a king or monarch or whatever, go to like a predetermined spot with their best warrior, and either the warriors would joust or duel or whatever, and if that was inconclusive, then you'd have the war and stuff like that.
For the NPC kings, they're the ones who receive the majority of flack and hate, being the ones who experience the most out-of-world problems that players should be grateful we don't gotta deal with, like this Clash Venture animation where the royal ghost takes over Red King's role and he's forced to fend for himself. It was really funny. There was an attempt to make this series, it wasn't worth it.
Discontinued after one episode? Oh no, okay.
So what I'm taking all of this as is the idea that each of these locations, stories, even every single move that is made by every single player of all of these games are canon, including all 300 million villages we have created.
Oh, okay, for a second I thought he was going to say all 300 episodes of the show. Okay.
They're spread across a giant world with a seemingly endless amount of locations and lives within them. But when it comes down to things like official shorts and commercials, I'm gonna assume there's two kings we follow in most animations. And whenever it's O-Rama, it's different kings and rules. The only way to differentiate all of these are with small body type differences and different voice actors. It's really the only way you can tell any of this can remotely work together, knowing the variables that come before it. And even then,
wait, what was that, a family tree?
Makes sense on a geographic sense with all the millions upon millions of small factions of troops, armies, farmers, brawl stars, all that. Because like every player is canon. Troops will name drop who they're donating to, or else it's like in their clan. Known examples include Banana Pants 87, Struggling with Bunions, Angry Neeson 52, Liam Neeson is canon, it helps him vent. And of course,
Liam Neeson. I guess it was a paycheck, of course, yeah.
Yo mama. Not to mention the fact that every playable village has 100% been confirmed to be on the bodies of water. But even then, these bodies of water lead to master builders, builder bases, builders who have ascended to a greater plane and expand upon these nations. Well, here's what I came up with. Clash villages found in animations, O-Rama, all of Clash Royale's arenas and kingdoms, the mountains of clan capitals, and Heyday all take place on mainland with rivers or lakes nearby.
Okay, so that means that this world has a lot of fresh water on it. That might not be a too bad of a place to live then.
Each having their own cultures and troops ideologies formed. Barbarians can talk in O-Rama, mute everywhere else. A lot of the O-Rama villages are landlocked. That's enough for me to recognize how different each respective little province is. I'm assuming there's also a great wall of Clash here. There's a great wall to the level of China's that we know of. That's its own can of worms.
Levels
all
of China.
Clash villages play.
Well, what am I saying? Of course, there's a China, version. There's a China version of so many different games. Like, I know there's a Chinese version of Plants vs. Zombies, which is different.
Players created not from animations unless specified otherwise are on the perimeters of bodies of water, as is confirmed by the Barbarian, Wiz, and Hog Riders sailing across the ocean for 5 days straight without stops. If I'm estimating correctly, they travel roughly 600 miles across this body where they find the builder base. Though I gotta mention, this isn't an assured distance, only in this case. Like other master builders can be like a couple miles away, no real confirmation, all being perfectly matched by any village that dares to sail out there on any direction. In the oceans, we got Boom Beach Islands, other tropics and locations.
Wait, so it's confirmed that... So wait, are you just making an assumption here, Choopo, or is it actually confirmed that Boom Beach is in this world? Because if that's the case, what is the deal with the technology disparity going on there? Like, why is all the advanced technology on the islands, and then, like, God, this is weird. We're getting some sort of weird Atlantis situation here going on.
Clash Quest. There's a lot. We'll get there when we get there.
Clash
and
Quest,
then
I forgot about that one.
Anywhere else not really mattering. We got Brawl Stars along with any other class spin-offs adventuring locations that may be outliers. With this incredibly shaky baseline of the general world 30-ish years in the making, we can finally start looking at the more intricate aspects of this all. Again, no Brawl Stars. Gotta stress that now to little Hunter in the 4th grade already asking for it. I know they have their culture shared via some matching clothing, and that Hog Rider is adjacent to SpongeBob and Buzz Lightyear to some capacity.
I'm sorry, what? How does that work?
But we can move on. Choopo, again, maybe. I'm right here. Just give me the word. Shut up. Stop, please. Please stop. I got a good rhythm going. You can talk in a minute. Well, I mean, like, you invited me here. Well, it's not your turn to talk. Plus, your voice is kind of annoying. I gotta mentally prepare myself to talk to me. I mean, you. So, a big thing with
That just sounds like projecting at this point, Choopo.
Clash's characters mostly having extremely limited lifespans is that 30 years to us equates to possibly thousands of years worth of generations in some groups. Most created life pretty instantly has a baseline of intelligence and memories. For them being reduced to a puddle of elixir that brought them to life is the highest honor imaginable. Almost lower class citizens who are being thrust into their fates, while royalty, villagers, builders, and creatures staying away from battles get to watch and reap the benefits of their
almost think the actual, like, the fighters, they're almost like ants, almost like, can you imagine how many quote-unquote generations your average villager has seen? God. Like, and that's not even counting, like, the longer lifespan of a king or something like that. That's really sad.
Sacrifices. There's 3 things all life strives to do here: win battles, adventure, have fun. Nothing else really matters to them. They are created with the elixir that is drilled out of the ground, literally more important than water to them. It is their blood. Though there's also dark elixir, which some troops are reliant on, and is what transforms certain troops to other ones, such as the barbarian kings from barbarians and the archer queens to archers. Goblins who ingest dark elixir transform into bowlers. Minions quite literally can only come to life with this goop. When the time is right,
Man, I was gonna make a joke about it being like the essential of like oil, but no, that's like, geez, okay, that's kind of creepy. Ugh. Like, what happens if, you know, it is a finite resource and they eventually run out? Like, oh god, the mortality just thrust upon them like that.
Single troop will be blessed with the honor of dark elixir and be able to represent their homes as the true immortal warrior they are. As for other Clash heroes and champions, it's more just like a prestige thing. Your champions are powerful warriors or vital figures who stand as the leaders of whatever location they represent. For example, the Skeleton King is a skeleton who represents the undead. The Golden Knight is a knight who ascended upon the need of facial hair. Not a bit, by the way. Having facial hair is an indicator of power in Clash. The mighty
Okay, so if you're lower rank, you have to put in the effort to be clean-shaven, but as soon as you start rising in rank, you can start being lazier with your personal grooming. Okay, that's certainly not a way I thought that would go. Okay.
Miner is a stronger veteran miner. Picture is clear. When it comes down to the champions, the royalty, the villages, and anything that people interact with, there is almost always correlation. Again, a majority of this story is fragmented factions, so a majority of the Clash world is just explaining where everything has come from. So with that being said, they all strive to be the strongest for glory. No known purpose other than fighting and having good times, since those are like the only things so many troops are bound to. Though in their free time, troops and whatnot will do what's typically expected in our own world. We see a lot of tavern life and domestication of a decent margin of the populations. Like, for example, we know there's an establishment of businesses, like one builder's Hogmax, holidays like Clashmas.
Hogmax, of course.
Halloween, Clashiversary, and the Chinese Lunar New Year. Take that how you will. And of course, we got plenty of examples of music and partying being a big part of their lives, along with more laxed pastimes like chess in the game Clash Mini. This is the best life we'll get in Clash. Creatures like golems, dragons, yetis, even giants, fellas who would normally destroy these lands instead come far and wide to thrive in a mildly modernized environment. It is because of that that I'm wildly confused about how anything functions.
Yeah, because, like, again, like, we're trying to put logic into this game where logic does not exist. But, like, the idea is, you know, these little villages are like pockets of civilization that they seemingly like living in. Yet they're constantly raiding and destroying each other. Which, okay, actually thinking about it, maybe that's why the mainland seemingly is so backward technology-wise compared to Boom Beach. Just now Boom Beach is now in a constant state of war. God, that professor, of course he is.
It doesn't make sense, because so often lives are treated like nothing. Skeletons, barbarians, goblins, lava hounds, all characters are shown over and over and over being slaughtered, and like memorials are held and whatever, but even after that, everyone acts like nothing else they're doing matters. The only exception is the Royale King, the only person who consistently expresses fear of being on the front lines, but then is also more calculated even when being sillier, like Clash. Can you pick a side, please? Okay, cool, the story sucks. Let's talk about what respective species, troops, and kingdoms do in their own times.
God, okay, thinking about it. Again, Clash of Clans, like, I will give them credit here. Out of all of the other, you know, mobile game worlds and lore videos that I've seen Choopo make of them, I will give Clash of Clans credit for being the first one to have, you know, its tone essentially be just literally all over the place. Like, granted, I mean, a lot of these mobile games kind of err on the sillier side because of, you know, their topic or, you know, or something like that. But this one, it's like it's not even like swerving. It's like it's like when you go to a bowling alley and you put the safety bumpers up and you just have the bowling ball bouncing from side to side. Like, it's hitting the side and then bouncing to the other. Like, this is so inconsistent.
First up, let's look at Clash Quest, a delisted game following troops instructed by the Blue King to explore and possibly expand their empire. Besides obvious wildlife like new variants of dragons, there's some darker opposition, even worse than the opposing kingdoms or villages. Legions more or less concerned about themselves than anything, those being the skeletons and goblins. While there's both, obviously the ones that have been converted to our side do not do greater harm. These are armies. All players rule over at least some of the skeletons and goblins, though each have their own issues. With the skeletons, it's more of a problem of preventing an undead uprise, not really confirmed nor denied what brings skeletons back to life, but likely an option in the sheer amount of magic. Personally, looking at the witches for this one, not really the night witches sense. Though, they're more of a bat tamers than anything. Pretty chill, to be real. No, Mother Witch and Regular Witch both do pretty uncool things. Like, the former turns people into pigs for the lulz, and the latter summons skeletons as her children, I think. And then I'm pretty sure it's implied or confirmed the giant skeletons, the ones with the silly hat and the jaw, they're the fathers. Makes sense to me. So they aren't.
What do you mean the fathers? Like, I would assume that they're literally just the skeletons of the giants. Like, what does that even mean? I'm saying that a lot in this video, aren't I?
Aren't the remains of anyone being born as these creatures, little mischievous babies that witches aren't able to raise all too well, so a good chunk of them end up becoming shitty adults over like a nature versus nurture type of thing. Even then, a lot of them spend their childhoods in traps or barrels or as sword fodder toward defenses, and then as adults where they grow a lower jaw, skeleton puberty indicates they grow a mandible, then they become bombers, guards, even take driver's training to pilot balloons.
So, okay. Literal skeleton. Okay. The skeletons are their own race. Interesting. Very interesting.
tragic life for little Larry and Peter skeletons across the land. Those are the most common names, I believe. Possibly the biggest honor a non-king or giant skeleton can have is being a guard, as we see in the short film Lost and Crowned, following local village skeletons Peter and Larry as they guard the Red King's crown for an entire night, only for Larry to damage it and ruin it for the both of them. There's not much else in there, and part of this due to being about the relationship of the duo. Peter and Larry loving each other as brothers in the end. I mean, world building wise, it's just confirming how disruptive skeletons are without their jaw. It's like the equivalent of a frontal cortex developing. As for goblins, they are far more of an aggressive infestation. The sheer amount of them everywhere makes everybody uncomfortable, infamous for being
I'm getting huge Skaven vibes from them.
pets in all regards, greedy and mischievous critters full of selfish desires. Almost all of them are assholes simply because they can, and this is because of a major biological error in the goblins. They get dumber as they age. Genius inventors and engineers as infants, and complete idiots by adulthood with a ridiculously short life expectancy, with 1 year equating to 60 goblin years. Their lives are miserably short. Well, what this means...
Miserably short, and they get dumber as they age. Jeez, okay. I'm just trying to imagine, like, what kind of evolutionary pressures or just evolutionary flaws result in that?
Is that the goblins have no idea about what a mortgage is, or how to start a 401k, or even that you don't have to rinse your cans and bottles before recycling them. By the way, if you're doing that, stop doing that. That's not good for you. The only plausible exception to the brain rot seems to be royalty and Goblinstein. Even then, you could argue that all of them are driven by so much hate and pettiness that it forces their brains to function harder. So the youngins gotta help advance them. Adults, when controlled, are useful grunts who can comply under simple tasks that all parties abuse, good guys and bad. And then the goblins just make more goblins because they're stupid and don't realize that a child is a big commitment, leading to everything looping back to the start.
Which, I mean, yeah, given that the adults are stupider than the kids, yeah, I can definitely see that.
One day, the Blue King would crash land on in their home territory in the islands, be brought to a goblin queen, then they would have to find their way to escape from it all through Clash Royale battles. This is only one, though. We have knowledge of vanished goblins seen on Clash Quests in the single-player campaign in Clash of Clans, where you gotta fight the goblins in villages and raid them. If nothing else was done about it, everything would be ruled by goblins, but thanks to everyone's efforts of being over-leveled for these stupid campaigns, we don't have to worry about them. Except for Goblinstein. Stop using that card, actually. Mega Knight 2, stop using the Mega Knight. And if you use any of these cards, your mommy and daddy don't love you, you're a bitch, couldn't be me with my Pekkas. Hey, Choopo, what does your main deck look like? Yeah, I actually run a pretty tight hog cycle. It's overall gotten me a pretty consistent win rate of like never mind, I regret asking that. I feel insulted being in the same room as you. Oh, speaking of which, these P.E.K.K.A guys are weird. There's adult P.E.K.K.As, the dog one, and even mini P.E.K.K.As.
Actually, from what I understand, aren't the P.E.K.K.As female? Like, I remember hearing something about that, or am I being mistaken?
All you need to know about minis is that they like pancakes and the royal chef hooks them up. Now, P.E.K.K.A's origins have always been kind of an uncertain thing. Could be the builder, could be magic, but recently we got more of a likely answer via the spirits, little elemental friends used in fighting and as resources. There's 4 spirits usable and a 5th one. The nature spirit got rejected for being useless. Then she took a nap around the armor. Boom, P.E.K.K.A time. Let's just assume that for all other armor that this is the P.E.K.K.A. Now we can move on. We seem to have some more locations to make note of. First up, Hog Mountain, the place where hog riders seem to have found their ways of origin. Not every hog rider is seen coming from here. Like in Orama, there's a retired hog rider with his own family hating his wife and stuff. Then we watch another one get raised by his own hog, but a lot of them do. Same is likely for the ram rider. There's probably like a ram valley across the street or something.
A hog rider, a ram rider. Okay, again, it's been so long since I played. I had no idea that any of these things were added. Like, when was the Ram Rider added? Like, why weren't any memes made about her?
Hog Mountain is the home of the champion monk, a hog rider who seems to have ascended beyond the plane, and maybe a hog. Couldn't really see much else here besides there is an established relationship between all parties that the...
You know, honestly, again, like, I know the hog rider was a big meme, but I love the fact that the hog rider is essentially just a high-pitched voiced version of, like, Mr. T. Like, at least, you know, in the looks department, it's just out of, like, all the things. I love just how weird it is.
A man and hog should see and trust each other. They are loyal friends for life, parental in some instances, a boy and his dog, but awesome. Then we got the forest gang, the bandit folk, a small group of thieves or defecting, selfish characters across the land. I couldn't find too much with these ones, more so doing their own thing, if anything. I hold some interest in the frozen peak and snow locations for one very simple relationship. Not Ice Golem, not Mother Witch. Lumberjack and Log have generational beef. Lumberjack's a wacky barbarian who loves rage spells, spilled it on a chopped tree, it created the log. And Log's purpose is revenge. It gaining life has fueled it with hate, driven to ruin all those who wrong it and its fallen tree brethren.
Of course the log is sentient. Of course it is. God, the lore of this is weird.
So lumberjacks are not pals, it's a sensitive topic. With the mention of the spells, we gotta look at Spell Valley, Spell Factory wizards. They got plenty of control with manipulating all life as we know it. I would argue the wizards are treated too kindly. They do awful things. I mean, sure, they got nice hair and whatever, but so much of what they do rubs me weird. One of the commercials is creating a rabbit and then using it as a bomb on a town hall. Like, why is that something you can do? How often are you doing that?
I mean, given, you know, I'd imagine as many times as he want, given that he's, you know, literally doing magic.
I think of all troops that aren't royalty, wizards get the most appreciation, annually showing new spells and magic created, having elemental types with their own skills. By the way, Electric Wizard's not a real wizard. It was an inventor who accidentally drank a Zap potion instead of coffee. It gets an honorary badge. And even then, the spells, these are horrible. Some of these aren't too bad, like Healing Spell, it's great. It almost reminds me of the fact that Clash of Clans healers are never in the CGI animations. Did you know about that? I've watched so many of these, like...
I didn't even know there were healers. Again, I'm really out of the loop here.
Hours of these. I've seen a battle healer, never a regular one. It's always confused me why they never have. The clone spell is complicated. Clones gain life and sentience, but die in one hit. So I would argue that's a moral nightmare. There's
that is horrible.
Spell that curses any drinker to become Santa, and we have 3 known victims: a hog rider, a builder, and then like a regular Santa. I know that this is a world with tons and tons of weird, wacky attributes, but it still worries me a lot. But you know what? I saved the best weird location and corner of this franchise for last. The builders. Holy moly, that smile, that charisma. Without builders, Clash is nothing. Builder is the top specimen of Clash.
Yeah, God, builders. Like, honestly, the one thing I can think of was like that one clip from a commercial where like the builder's looking at something he's built, he's like smiling, he's like proud of what he does. And then, like, a bomb comes in and blows it up immediately. He's just like, like, just the pain. It was palpable.
Immortal geniuses appreciated by all, needed for each and every village, build, kingdom, and smidge of progress. There's a whole system of builders, troops who wish and pale in comparison to reach their glory. Isn't that right, Goblin Builder? You only needed to make one troop to make the best. And we're not talking about the Orama builders. Those are fakers. They don't even smile. Not looking at how just like every goddamn type of troop, there's gotta be a prestige thing. Like, that's the only way they know how to make characters or story. When you see the little hammer pal, you know something's getting done. Somehow, if you perfect perfection, you're left with the grand builders, responsible for preparations on clan capitals. Then, of course, we have builder bases, being entirely controlled by these mellowed out, more experienced builders with more ideas, ones that reclined in their own islands. You know what? These ones are fine, very electric based. They managed to create machinery life via the Sparky, for example. By the way, in case you were wondering, Sparky is a kind soul who volunteers at cleaning in the beach and cleaning up efforts. They're very nice. One fact I think is funny is based on one of the animations, a barbarian charges underwater. He's implied to have nonstop been under there from May 3rd, 2017 to June 9th, 2019.
She's talking about holding your breath. I think I remember seeing the first commercial where he ran into the water like to fight the ocean or something like that. But like, again, like, how stupid are these things? And again, like, we're all forgetting, like, one simple fact, and the fact that, like, this entire universe is technically fake. Like, not literally fake. Like, it's digital, in-universe. Like, so technically speaking, none of this actually matters.
2 years holding breath with sprinting, no breaks. What are you things? And then right when he reaches land, Master Builder jumps on his back. 4 years returning to the regular base. You have a boat. Take the boat. And above all else, the ones we love more than any other, the regular builders, the soul of the villages. When they leave after non-stop disrespect, villages go to shambles and it all gets ruined, so do not disrespect them.
Gee, imagine that. Like, again, like, not the most, combat-oriented class, like, not at all, but I mean, like, building infrastructure is very important. As soon as you start slacking on infrastructure, that's when bad things start to happen.
They want to create horrible, unfathomable monsters that horrify everybody else, I can at least defend it, because the builders are confident with their abominations. Everybody else tries keeping skeletons in the closets. Builders are proud of the freaks they build, so we can't complain now, can we? And Hammer Jam, oh! 2 weeks of so much building, it's glorious. A period of builders going from 1/10 of their power to their 1/8. They know how big of a deal it is until it wasn't. In 2024, Hammer Jam was almost ruined when Builder's ever iconic hammer mysteriously vanished across like 300 million villages. And then
Wait, so every hammer was stolen? Jeez, that sucks. Oh no.
Prince private investigators, all 300 million of them went to respective villages after days of seeking, only to discover 300 million different hammers up their asses of the 300 million giants. I hate it here. How big is this planet? Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and the rest of you are incomprehensible. It is like trying to make a drivable bridge out of a jigsaw puzzle. You gotta be even stupid to consider it functional. And that is it. That is all. Most of the other stuff boils down to career paths, totem poles of power, extra critters and creatures connected to other regions of Clash. That's just the gist after all this time. And you know what? It's funny. In a weirdly nihilistic way, this entire planet has to be designed to be Sisyphus-like. With as much progress as there is, and almost all these characters are meant to be treated as clones in some comedic instances, yet others treated as citizens of debatably functioning societies. I kinda hate the existences of digital life, all being code forced to live, having the intelligence and capabilities of us, but practically no time to live and accomplish anything with a few exceptions. And
again, like, the fact that canonically most of these people are just created out of this purple goo and then just die like at most a week later. Like, that is so sad and depressing. Like, that sucks.
sure, there's more we might learn about in the future, like how big of an issue it is for the Royale King to be assassinated, or why there's a Purple King, or how the bench system works in Clash Royale's animations. Maybe even understanding why some celebrities are so interested in all this stuff would be cool. Like, why does James Corden need to hear about a single Clash of Clans fight as a bedtime story? There's so many little small things that pile up. It really just seems like facts more than anything. Across the time in the game, there really has not been a story developed, unless Supercell went more into single player and had it so all player villages join forces to defeat the goblin armies, or have a Clash Royale co-op level mode where you have to beat certain decks with decks of your own with cutscenes between or something. The tidbits pile up. I can talk about the things like some troops being under family trees, elections for barbarian kings existing, or why Cody Rhodes and Liam Neeson got way into the game. Maybe even the implication that by 2062 Clash will look like this, or why anyone thirsts over any of these characters unless it's Builder. As for what to expect now, just wait a couple.
Hey, I mean, it specifically said Rule 34. If it exists, there'll be porn of it. At this point in my life, I'm not surprised if I accidentally come across, like, questionable stuff. Because honestly, like, again, it's gonna be somebody's fancy.
Weeks when the updates hit the streets and caused the competitive scene that exists somehow to panic as the bust mechanics get included and ruin everything. This is about Clash Royale. They're throwing darts to come up with update ideas. It's awful. Why are there evolutions? Why are there champions? Why are there anything? This is stupid. There's also Project Rise, a continuation of a failed game they started. Top down, seems to have like a lot of worlds and biomes. I see the potential for a real story here if they choose to do so. I feel like that's something completely severely lacking. There's too much focus on little gags or factoids that restrain keeping people.
And no actual story.
I say there's someone with a village that looks like this. Please don't make fun of me. I like the builder-based mode more. But in conclusion, hog rider. I couldn't think of an end. That's it? Well, no, I mean, I normally, at this point, tell people to subscribe with my guilt statistic, plug some stuff, and then give some advice, but then after I'm done, is something wrong? Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you invited me for a collab. It just feels like we're, like, I don't know. I feel like there's no need for me to be here other than to plug my channel. By the way, check out my channel where I make awesome, terrific, lovely, pleasant videos, and I'm not as uncool as this guy. Like, I only read a couple paragraphs on this entire script. You couldn't even tell it was me. Our voices are too similar. No, we sound totally different. Okay, what is your beef? What is your issue? I don't know. Maybe my issue comes from the fact I traveled all the way up here only to be left with some bad vibes. I don't really appreciate the attitude you're bringing here. And honestly, I don't deserve it. Well, this is just who I am. Is there something wrong with the way I am? Well,
Yes, there is. That's very mean. If you're talking to yourself, that can be classified. You need to go see a therapist.
Maybe if you act this way to everyone, then maybe there is. Maybe you're afraid of sharing your space. Why am I even here? This is so unprofessional. It's insulting. I mean, I did nothing to warrant this behavior. This is entirely your fault. I will never collaborate with you again.
Oh god, I do not like seeing Choopo. Like, I'm used to Choopo having, like, 3 to 4 faces. I don't like that the number of faces increasing. I'm not used to it. No. Like, I can understand, you know, coming up with reasons for, like, special events and stuff like that in these mobile games. But it gets to the point, especially with some of these that have been going on for so long, like, why do you even bother making a story? Because at this point, like, anything you create is just going to end up being, like, a massive quagmire that is just such a pain. Like, and because, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, most of the stuff, like, was just started contradicting itself. But yeah, that's definitely going to be it for now. So yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.